Wait. I'm going live 2 days in a row. What is going on with my career? I have no idea. How am I going live 2 days in a row? It's insane. I can't believe it. But guess what? It's happening. And my hair is looking good for the most part because it usually doesn't behave. What is going on? We are going to talk about gimbals today because that and drones is what my channel is basically like. That's what popularized. That's a good word. My channel, drones and gimbals. So today I want to answer any questions that you have regarding any gimbals that you want to buy. We can talk about future gimbals, what my expectations are, what I think is going to happen to the future of gimbals, what's going on, and all that good stuff. Also, I want to mention that I have some new Gwin products. Gwin, I have the motion control remote for those of you who have not seen my live stream yesterday. I have the motion control remote with the built-in follow focus wheel. I also have the Gwin monitor. Let me show you, let me bring you guys over here. I have it attached to my slider. See, that's the monitor right there. Gwin makes it. It's pretty cool. It can run solely off of the batteries in your gimbal. And right now I have my Sony MPF style battery attached to it. And this slider is a slider made by a company called Synetics. It's a motorized slider. And here we have the Gwin Crane 2 with a follow focus module here. All right. I have two Fresnel lights already set up. I have a Rode boom mic. I'm getting ready to shoot a video for tomorrow. I was shooting some B-roll stuff today. But yeah, that's what's currently going on. And yeah, guys, let me know what you if you have any question. Products and Panasonic cameras like must-haves. Must-haves. It depends on which crane gimbal you have. Which crane? Do you have V2, V1, Crane 2, Crane Plus? Which one do you have? So let me know. Also, what kind of cage do you have for your Panasonic? So I don't have my GH4 anymore. I sold it. But Small Rig and Tilta, actually Small Rig makes very good cages. So check out Small Rig. Let me know if you want a link. I'll send one to you. I love what you were doing for Morocco. Thank you, brother. Believe it or not, I have a little bit of Morocco in me. My dad did his ancestry, and he found out that he's partially Moroccan. So guess what? I'm partially Moroccan too. So we might be related. You don't know. All right. So yeah, guys, ask me any questions you got. I have like 20 or so minutes, and I got to get back to work. Mario says, I just picked up the V2. Okay, so must-haves for the V2. The dual handles. You definitely need to get your hands on the dual handle system. I'm going to make more videos on when you shouldn't use the dual handle system. But for the most part, I think you should use it. It takes a lot of weight away from just using one hand, and it evenly distributes the weight throughout your back. I have back issues. I have a herniated disc, and I have a pinched nerve in my shoulder blade. So I know back pain. So it's always better to have the most support as possible. So yeah, definitely go for the dual handle system. Israel says, happy new month, boss. Yeah, brother. Ronin S for long exposure time lapse and program movement. Okay. So Gwin has those features already available, but the issue is their app. So they're working on their app. The issue is just the app. Hardware is there, it's working. But yeah, those features are already available to you. So far, I don't see anything better on the Ronin S than the Crane 2. So, you know, I probably won't be getting the DJI Ronin S unless I get one for review. We don't know. I would love to do a comparison between the two. But I saw it at NAB, and I had my Crane 2 on me, and I liked my Crane 2 more. It was lighter. It had a built-in LCD screen, built-in follow focus system, 18-hour battery life. They didn't release the battery life on the Ronin S, but I can tell you right now, it's not going to be anywhere near as close to the Crane 2's battery life. I just know. I'm following DJI's history, and rumor has it it's an internal battery. It's not detachable like the Crane 2's. So you have to only buy from DJI to power the Crane. With the Crane 2, you can actually buy third-party batteries to power it up. So that's a big minus on DJI's part. They're making everything proprietary. They think it's going to make them money in the long run, but I don't think it will, because people are just going to go to Juin instead, like they should. So that's why I'm only using Juin products for my gimbal stuff, because it's modular, it's cheaper, more affordable, and overall, I'm very happy with what I'm getting out of the products. Israel says, I'm about to get my first Crane gimbal. Awesome, brother. You're welcome to Morocco. Exactly, Marrakesh. You're going to have a lot of great shots there, I'm sure. Yeah, James Matthews was just in Marrakesh, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, he was just in Morocco. I'm sure, and good luck. Seriously, I love so much what you are doing. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. 1% Greater is saying, I picked up the Crane 2 and I'm going to Iceland soon. I'm a total newbie with this stuff and I just wanted to create some cinematic shots. Do you have a video or playlist on that? Much love from Toronto, Canada. Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, so I got a ton. I have like 50 some Crane tutorial videos on cinematic shots, cinematic orbits, cinematic tracking. I have a ton more that are going to be released soon. If everything goes well with my schedule, I'm going to have another Crane tutorial coming out later this week. I did an editing tutorial, didn't do too well. I don't know what's going on. People don't like editing tutorials, so I'll probably stay away from editing. But I just released an editing tutorial this morning, so if you want to check that out as well, feel free. But yes, I do have a playlist. It's on my YouTube channel, so check it out. 1% Greater says, glad I found your channel. Thank you, brother. I'm happy that you found it. Alpha says, hey, dude, I have the Crane 2, and when I use it with the Canon 80D and 24 to 70 mil, it shakes on medium, but when I put it on lightweight, it freaks out and drops the camera and vibrates. Do you know why? So Canon 80D, Canon bodies are pretty heavy compared to Sony mirrorless cameras. When you put it on light, I can tell you right now, the reason why it drops down is that the motors are too weak. You're gonna have to play around, and you set on medium, it shakes on medium. So it looks like there's supposed to be a sweet spot between light and medium. So what I would do, I would try adding maybe an accessory to your camera, maybe a little accessory. Also try rebalancing it. The pan motor, pitch motor, and 2 of the tilt adjustments. Make sure it is perfectly balanced. I ran into that same issue as well, and I found out that it wasn't perfectly balanced. But I know for a fact that the light motor setting is not the right setting for you. That's why it's dropping down. So yeah, definitely stay away from the light motor setting. Try to rebalance it or add some accessories. And for that, for the heck of it, try the high motor setting, even though I think it's going to be too much for that camera. But medium should be where you're at. And yeah, just keep working around the balance, working around the accessories, and try to see if you can weigh down your camera as well. Okay. Joe says, great info. Crane should get the app working soon. Yeah, so I have a very good relationship with Jiwin, actually. I'm talking to their head of marketing and their engineering department. Yes, they're working on the app. They just released a few new firmware updates for the Smooth 4, and they just released an app update yesterday for the Android version of the Crane app. It's happening. They're making it work. They realize that people are requesting an app fix. Yes, it's coming. They're working a lot, guys. They got a lot of engineers on this right now. So yes, it's coming. Patience is a virtue. We gotta be a little bit patient, but it's happening, and I guarantee it. Sorry for the late. I did notice you were talking about the back issues. Are there any belts or straps or something similar to hold the crane to make it easier for filming? Yes. Trying to figure out for glide cams, I used to have a vest, but for gimbals, yeah, you do actually have a few options. When you attach the dual handle system, there's a third-party manufacturer that creates two different types of vests. One vest will actually have arms coming out, and it will hook right into the handles of the Crane 2's dual handle system. That's one company. Another company makes a backpack with two massive arms that poke, or is it two arms? Yeah, I think it's two arms that poke up with a string that comes down, and you attach the string to the dual handles, and that will also prop up your crane. Those two things are very expensive. I'll tell you right now, it's more expensive than the crane itself. So I would just focus on getting the dual handle system, to be honest. Jewin is also releasing a shoulder rig. It's still in the prototype phase, but they're going to be releasing a shoulder rig, and hopefully they're going to release some more body straps or body brackets to help you out if you have shoulder pain. But yeah, the dual handle system definitely helps you out. I don't have any back pain when I use it. However, when I use the crane on its own with one hand, I do feel some pinching going on in my shoulder blade. But yeah, that's the pain that I'm getting. Did you try the Feiyu A1000 before? No, but I have the Feiyu A2000, and I'm currently working on a review between the Feiyu A2000 and the Crane Plus. So that will be a very good video. Currently, my cameras are too heavy for the A1000, so that's why I have the A2000. So get ready. That's going to be a massive video. It's going to get a lot of views, I can already tell, because people are deciding between the A2000 and the Crane Plus, especially with the A2000's newest firmware upgrade, goes up to 5.5 pounds now. So that's right where the Crane Plus is. Both are at 5.5 pounds with the payload. Okay. If you want me to do some comparing right now between the two, let me know. I can give you some specs and some facts. I loaned my A2000 out to a friend, so he's using it right now. But I'm supposed to be getting it back later this week, and then I'm going to immediately start working on the review and comparison between the A2000 and the Crane Plus. So stay tuned for that. I have the Crane 2, but I shoot with the Nikon D500. Do you know if June will have settings for Nikon? At this time, there hasn't been any release on Nikon, whether it can communicate with the gimbal. Unfortunately, so far it's Sony and Canon, and possibly Panasonic. I haven't tried Panasonic yet, but with Sony and Canon, we have full communication between the gimbal and the camera itself. So far, unfortunately, Nikon doesn't look like it's compatible at the moment. Will they work on it? I don't know. I will ask, and I'll let you know in the next live stream. What's your take on the 4th axis gimbal stabilizers? That's a very good question. I was going to make a video on that, and I did actually, but I never released it because it just felt like I was just complaining too much about it, and nobody wants a video about somebody complaining. But 4th axis, don't need it. Don't need it. It's too heavy. It's bulky. If you get your technique right, your body should become the 4th axis. You have shoulders, you have elbows, you can use your body in a way to compensate for that 4th axis of movement. You don't need a 4th axis rig. You don't. It's just too much. You're straining yourself, okay? Gimbals are heavy enough as it is. Don't add any more strain. Don't do it. So I'm not a fan of the 4th axis systems. If anything, I think they make the footage look worse. So I don't rely on 4th axis rigs for my gimbal or gimbals. Good question. I want to buy a gimbal, but I don't know which one, Crane Plus or Crane 2. Can you give me some advice? Thank you. So I made a comparison video between the Crane 2 and the Crane Plus. I want you to go ahead and check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. and that will tell you everything that you need to know about the Crane Plus and the Crane 2. So yeah, check out that video. Do you have any advice for me? I have a Feiyutech A2000, and very often the motors are shaking. It drives me crazy. So I haven't used the Feiyu in a very, very long time. I've just been using the June products. So you're gonna have to contact Feiyu support, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but if I had my Feiyu with me, I would be helping you out, but I don't. I loaned it out to a friend. So yeah, sorry about that. Clifford says, "Hey, dude, writing from Japan. Awesome. And yes, your playlist on Gimbals helped me to figure out how to use the Crane 2 that I just got. I've been using it with the Rebel T2i. Anyways, thanks, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you watching. I plan to visit Japan very soon. So, yeah, that'd be cool. Also, where do I get the new focus tool? I had the original one, but I want to get the newer version. Okay, so let's talk about the newer focus, the newer follow focus module. So it looks like that newer focus module is not compatible with all lenses. The first generation of the focus module is. So far, as far as I know, to my knowledge, the only difference between the two, the newer and the older, is the mounting system, and the aesthetics. Aesthetically, the second version looks way better than the first version. I mean, it just flows with the whole entire design of the gimbal. But it looks like the first gen is more compatible with different lenses. So yeah, I plan on getting the first gen follow focus system soon, so that way we can compare and see which one is truly better than the other. And where do you get the new follow focus? It should be already on Amazon. Let me check and see if I can get that for you. It should be available. Let's see. It's probably only available on. Yeah, it's not on Amazon just yet. So we're gonna have to wait maybe another week or two for them to put it on Amazon. It's not currently available yet, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But it's happening. Don't worry. But again, wait until I release my review on both systems. That way I can compare and contrast which one is truly better than the other. Specs are exactly the same. It's just the aesthetics, as I mentioned earlier, and the mounting system. Do you think the Crane 2 can handle the new Blackmagic that will be released in August? Yes, I do believe it can handle it. When it comes down to weight, for sure. When it comes down to clearance, I'm not 110% sure about clearance, because it does have an odd shape. But I think it will work. When I was at NAB, unfortunately, I didn't have time to test out the Blackmagic. Otherwise, I would have put it on the Crane 2. But as far as I know, it is compatible with the Crane. Yeah, with the Crane 2. I'm 80% sure. 80%. But hopefully, I'll get a chance to check out the new Blackmagic, and maybe I can mount it on the Crane 2 and let you know how that looks. Any more questions, guys? This is a good stream. A lot of questions coming in. Very happy about that. Do you use the joystick at all for the camera movements on the Crane 2? Not anymore. I did used to use the joystick before the POV function, but now that I have the POV function, I don't need the joystick anymore. I haven't used it at all, actually. The only time I would be using the joystick is if I had the gimbal on a tripod. And even at that point, I wouldn't be using the joystick. I'd be using the wireless remote controller to control moves. Yeah, honestly, I haven't used the joystick at all. I think that's why they removed it on the Smooth 4. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't used the joystick. Hi, Josh. Love your videos. Been watching them all. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Just watched your 1 hour, 1 hour tutorial on how to edit a video. I'm getting the SL2 with a 10 to 18 mil and the Crane 2. Hope to start making something cool soon. Awesome, brother. Or Jill. Gil or Jill? I think it's Gil. Gil, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know it was a long tutorial, but I felt like it was necessary for you guys to see how a video is edited, especially for like a big client like Rob. Rob has a ton of followers. He's like a fitness celebrity, and a lot of people know him. So, and he loves the way I make his videos. So I just wanted to share that experience with you guys to see if you guys ever have a client like him. Hopefully that tutorial video will definitely help you out. And overall, even though I edit on Final Cut, that video should still help you out editing wise with Adobe Premiere, Sony Vegas, any of those programs. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Have you ever had to gimbal dinglage? What does that mean? Like branches and I don't know what that means. Cheers from Portugal. Thank you so much, man. Portugal. Wow. I want to go to Portugal. Yeah, awesome. Any more questions, my friends? If you want me to demo any of this equipment here that I have set up, let me know. Yeah, put you guys right here. This should be good. Okay. So here we have, I'm going to take this off. This over here. Take my laptop, put it right over here. Okay, so here we have the Crane 2. All right. Just turn this like that. Cool. We have the Crane 2 right here. It's on. It has the follow focus attached to it. And just pop this up here. I'm going to grab the wireless remote controller. Here's the wireless remote controller. I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so here we are on the wireless remote controller. We have the same exact LCD screen that you'll find on the Crane 2. So actually, let me turn the Crane 2 around. So here's the LCD screen on the Crane 2. It's basically exactly the same as what we see here. Joe says, maybe make a video on your live stream setup in the future. Trust me, my live stream setup is crap. It's just my laptop webcam. That's it. And I'm using YouTube upgraded their live stream platform, so now it's a lot better. There's really, I don't even have any lights set up on right now. So it's just a webcam. But yeah, so here we go. So what's really unique about the remote controller is that it has two unique functions. One function is that it has the follow focus, right? So as I turn the follow focus dial here, you can see that the follow focus on the Crane 2 responds very well with minimal lag. I believe we get about 300 feet with this remote controller. So as I spin this, you can see how the Crane 2 has the follow focus working. Okay. Now this is a little secret, okay? This is gonna come out for a future tutorial, but this is a little secret. The servo motor on the follow focus is strong enough to pull zoom. So you can actually put the follow focus gear on the zoom ring of your lenses, and you can actually control zoom with this and not just focus. If you guys want me to set that up, I don't want to set that up until I release my tutorial. It's kind of a surprise. Yeah, and then we also have G mode, which uses the gyroscope built into this remote controller. Once I press down that button, we can tilt up, tilt down. It'll actually respond. Actually, let me go into lock mode. Yeah, so tilt down, tilt up, and spin. Tilt down, tilt up. It actually works a lot better if it's mounted on like a dual handle. But yeah, up, tilt up. There we go. And then you can pull focus at the same time. Turn around, please. Okay, just stay right there and hold it steady. Lift up. Yeah, I need to mount it on a rig. There we go. Got it. Yeah, see, it just follows the movement of the remote controller. So that's cool. And then we also have a little joystick here. And your Crane 2 will follow the movement of the joystick. Nice, nice remote. I love the weight to it as well. It doesn't feel cheap. It's not small. On the Moza Air, we have a very tiny remote and it's extremely light. Not a big fan of the remote. This one is how it should be. This remote is absolutely perfect. It has a metal follow focus dial, all metal, and built-in battery, LCD screen, joystick, wheel here. Everything, every control that's on the Crane 2 you'll find on this remote, and it has great weight to it. It doesn't feel like it's so cheap. It has excellent, excellent weight. All right, so let's answer some questions here. Okay. Hi, sorry for my English. I have a question for you. I have a Crane 2, and I want to buy servo follow focus, but I don't know. Is it really necessary? Man, I can't really tell you if it's necessary because it's up to you and your editing workflow. For me, for what I need it for, I would say it's not necessary. But for zoom, yes. I'm definitely going to start using it for zoom. I'm going to rig it up to my zoom ring and use it as a zoom and not a focus. So honestly, if you use zoom lenses a lot, this is also a very good tool for you. So yes, I would say it is necessary. Follow focus is important. With my A9 captures focus in probably 90–95% of the time. The other instances, yes, follow focus is necessary. If you're shooting a short film, follow focus is necessary. If you're run and gun, follow focus might not be as necessary, but don't forget you can also use this motor as a controller for your zoom. And I think that's a whole different animal. I think that's a great feature there. Definitely worth it. Next question. Hey, Momentous Prime, tuning in from Japan, Okinawa. What up, dude? Momentous Prime, guys. You guys know the story behind that? So I was at NAB. Really funny story. This guy approaches me, and he's like, hey, it's momentous. Like, I don't think he knew how to say momentum. And so James Matthews heard that, and he was like, oh, momentous. And then Kitty started calling me Momentous Prime. And then all this thing just went out of control. So now I'm Momentous Prime. Yeah, so we all have these like little nicknames and stuff. So yeah, I'm Momentous Prime now. Okay. Oreo says, does the follow focus on the Crane 2 work with the Sony A7 Mark III and R Mark III? What do you mean, like the built-in follow focus or the actual module? The built-in follow focus only works with Canon cameras. Gil says, follow focus zoom hack. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. How often do you use the manual servo follow focus? Not too often. However, I will be using it as a zoom. I will be using it as a zoom because sometimes when I'm shooting, I don't like turning the zoom handle or the zoom ring so much because then the whole gimbal moves. But if I rig up the servo to the zoom ring, I can just turn the dial here and it will zoom without the camera moving or shaking or doing anything weird. So yeah, that's why I want to start using this as a zoom and not a focus. I think that on its own is pretty powerful. You basically turn your manual zoom lens into a servo zoom lens, and that's fantastic because not only is it more comfortable to use, but you're going to get smoother zooms. You're going to get really smooth zooms as if your camera was on a dolly, like that smooth. So yeah, I think that's on its own, that's a really good function there. Okay. I'm used to using the dual handle for the crane, so how can I use the servo follow focus at the same time? Okay, so with the dual handle system, okay, what we're going to do with the dual handle system, and I'm going to cover this in the tutorial, is that we're going to rig up the remote controller in a way so that your thumb can easily access the controls of the follow focus and the remote controller on the side. So while you're holding the handles, your thumb will be able to access those functions. However, if you don't have the remote controller, it's going to be a lot trickier for you to control all of those functions by going to the actual gimbal body and controlling it from there. You're going to actually have to let go of one handle and manually control those buttons, which is why I do strongly recommend that you do get the remote. I'm going to release a review video, I believe, by Wednesday on this remote controller. So far, I'm very impressed with it. I haven't seen any negatives, but I'm going to be playing around with it a lot more today, really taking it through its paces. Battery life seems like it's fantastic as well. Really like the battery life. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to rig it up onto your dual handle system, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. You know what? Should I like this? Oh, we're good. Okay. Which wide angle lens do you prefer for Canon 7D for video mode? Wide angle, I'm loving the 16 mil. This one's a 16 mil, but this is a Sony. But 16 mil for a full frame looks beautiful for gimbals. Oh, 16 mil, even a 14 mil from Rokinon. If you get a Rokinon 14 mil, which I think is like $300, very cheap lens, but produces great quality images. 14 mil from Rokinon for a Canon, beautiful. When I owned my 5D Mark II, that was one of the first lenses that I bought. It was a 14 mil Rokinon. This was back in like 2013 when I had my 5D Mark II. Yeah. Hi, I'm from Venezuela. What up? Glide cam stabilizer or gimbal stabilizer? Would you please explain the cons and pros of each? Okay. Let's start with the glide cam, right? What are the pros and cons? Pros, it produces a more natural look. Natural in a sense, like it looks more human. It doesn't jitter. It doesn't ever produce any inconsistent moves, or how should I say it, rugged moves. Okay, glide cams always produce smooth tilts and smooth pans. Gimbals at times can be a little bit too perfect, and it can make it seem like a robot is controlling your camera and not a human. Second pro of a glide cam, you don't need any batteries. It won't short circuit if it gets wet. You can literally, you don't have to buy a case for it. You can just throw it in the trunk of your car, and it's very rugged. So it can take a beating. So those are two massive pros. Now the cons. There are a lot of cons with the glide cam. First con is that it needs massive learning curve. Okay, it took me almost a year to perfect my manual gimbal moves. It took me almost a year to perfect it. Not only is there a learning curve with flying a glide cam, but there's a massive learning curve with balancing a glide cam. Balancing and operating are two different things, so it does take a while to learn how to do both. Another con with a glide cam, you will not be able to use it in windy conditions because wind will just simply push over the glide cam. You can't really control the horizon too well on glide cams. However, on a gimbal, you have motors that can compensate for inertia and anything weird that's happening, any external force. So yeah, that's the thing with glide cams. You have to use it in like basically perfect weather conditions when it comes down to wind. No wind with glide cam. Once you start having like 20, 30 mile per hour winds, Oh man, glide cam's definitely not the choice. You can't use, I don't even like using glide cams outside of a slowly moving car. Definitely not a good idea. With a gimbal, much smaller learning curve, very, very small learning curve. When it comes down to weight, I believe that gimbals are a little bit lighter, like the Crane 2, a little bit lighter than what I was using on my Steadicam. Smaller form factor as well, another good pro. Balancing is a little bit easier on the gimbals. Ease of use, easier. Functionality gives you a lot more functionality, gives you the ability to do time lapses, motion control. It just has a ton of different features that a glide cam obviously can't give you because there's computers in here that process all of those movements for you. Windy days, definitely use a gimbal because it will compensate for any external force, so you'd never have to worry about that. Negative, there is a battery. There is a battery, so you do have to make sure that it is constantly charged. 18-hour battery life, though, that should be good for 3 or 4 shoots, easy. So I wouldn't even worry about that, and I wouldn't even consider that as a big con. But yeah, that is one con. Second con, as I mentioned earlier, you're not going to get that human touch like you would on the glide cam, which is why Gimbal released POV mode. Now with POV mode, you get a much more similar glide cam feel because you're able to manipulate the horizon movement. So you can actually create Dutch angles. You can do some really cool movements with the horizon, controlling the roll. So that's why POV mode is an incredible feature for the Crane series gimbals, is because it gets very close to what glide cams do. So overall, what would I choose? Glide cam or gimbal? Definitely a gimbal like the Crane 2. It just offers the features that I want. And plus it will handle pretty heavy cameras with accessories like a follow focus. Attaching a follow focus to a gimbal, you'll have to rebalance it every time. Whenever you make a zoom change on a manual stabilizer, you're gonna have to balance it every time. With a gimbal, when you make a zoom change, when you make a lens change, to be honest, you don't have to rebalance it because the motors are powerful enough to compensate for that. But again, you will be draining the battery a lot faster. So gimbals are the future. It's happening now. Eventually, glide cams will, I don't think anybody will use it simply because the learning curve is just way too high. If the learning curve was, okay, 1 day, yeah, done. But the learning curve is a lot longer on a glide cam than it is on a gimbal. Don't get me wrong, though. Gimbals do also have a very big learning curve, but nowhere near as big as a glide cam. All right, so let me grab my water here. Okay, let's answer some more questions. Some good stuff happening. Everyone give a like, show some love. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, brother. Naram is saying, if you change the zoom, won't the stabilization be off? Not on a gimbal. If you turn off the gimbal, yes, it will be unbalanced. But because we have motors here that compensate for weight change, no, it won't. It will act exactly the same, except the battery life will be draining a little bit faster since motors have to be working harder. On a glide cam, when you make a zoom change, yes, you will have to completely rebalance it. It will be useless. It will be just a hunk of metal. So yes. What do you think about the Moza Air? I have the Moza Air. It's a good gimbal. I mentioned this yesterday. I had a very big issue with the Moza Air, something I didn't have with the Crane 2, and that is their firmware, the actual firmware with the gimbal. Whenever I get a gimbal for review, I try to break it. That's the first thing I try to do, and not like throw it off a building, break it, but I mean like internally. What ways, how can I trick the firmware into breaking the gimbal? I try my hardest to break the gimbal. With the Moza Air, it was very easy to break. And the firmware just died. The gimbal wouldn't send any power to the motors. And I contacted support. Support didn't help me too much, unfortunately. So what I had to do, I kind of had to spend hours and hours thinking about how I could reverse engineer the firmware. Don't ask me how. I managed to do it, but it was hell. It was utter hell. I had nightmares about it at night too. I had a dream that the Moza Air was chasing me down the road. Yeah, it got to that point where I was having nightmares about the Moza Air. Firmware, gimbal firmware. If there's something wrong with it, don't buy it. The gimbal firmware on the Crane series gimbals is immaculate. There's nothing wrong with the firmware on the gimbals. The phone app is a different story, but the firmware on the gimbals, absolutely flawless. There's nothing wrong with it. I had issues with the Fadetech A2000 gimbal firmware and the Moza Air firmware. Major issues. I also had the Cane TV Argo. They didn't program their own firmware in it. It was a third-party firmware from a company called Basecam, and that was awful too. So Zhiyun has made their own proprietary algorithm for these gimbals, and I'll tell you right now, it's the best I've seen so far. You can't break it. I've tried. I can't break it. I can't break the firmware. There are some holes in the Moza Air firmware for sure. They need to look into that, but not with the Crane 2 or the Crane series in general. Okay, that was a good question. I'm out of breath now. Okay, doing good. Getting ready to do an internship interview later in the afternoon. Hopefully that goes well. Awesome. At what frame rate would you film a wedding? Is it necessary to switch between 24 and 60 frames, especially for gimbal shots during the wedding? Gimbal GH5, thank you for your video. So I haven't shot a lot of weddings. I've shot 2 weddings. I never will shoot weddings again simply because I'm not good with audio. I have anxiety attacks at weddings, even if I'm just attending. I see the videographers running around hooking up the audio, and it just gives me anxiety attacks. But weddings, there's a lot of similarities between weddings and workout videos, believe it or not, because you do want to capture close-ups, you do want to capture wides. For gimbal shots, what I like to do, I like to shoot at a higher frame rate. The rest of the shots, like the speaking shots, should be shot at 24 frames per second. You're not going to be slowing down speaking shots. So keep that at real time, 24 frames per second. Everything else, like any gimbal shots, yeah, 60 frames would be great, just so you can have that option to slow it down in post-production. But yeah, speaking shots, 24 frames per second. When they're in the altar, 24 frames per second. Every single time someone is speaking, 24 frames per second. If someone is not speaking and you just want to capture some movement with the gimbal, definitely shoot at a higher frame rate so you have that option in post-production. That's my advice for that. What do you think about the Moza Air? You can never know how to use the fall focus. Yeah, so I just talked about the Moza Air. Sup, played with the Canon EF 16-35 2.8. That's actually, I have the Sony 16-35 f4. I like that lens too. Adapted on the GH5 today, man, that's a glass. Wow, blown away. Yeah, 2.8 Canon, 16-35. I haven't played with it, heard good things. What kind of light is that behind you? I want an aperture, but they sold out, and the V2 is supposed to be here in September. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'll tell you right now, Aperture is my favorite light company, even though this is not an Aperture light. Aperture is my new favorite light company. I have their 120D, their Lightstorm 1/2 W. I also have their Mini 20D, which is also a Fresnel light. So this is a Cane TV 55-watt Boltzmann light. Tiny light, but produces a hell of a lot of power. It's a Fresnel. See that? It extends. It's an LED. Barn doors come included. Metal barn doors. This area here seems to be metal, a little bit of plastic. But overall, it's a great light. I use it a lot as a detail light for lighting up the edges of someone's face. I use it as a decorative light. So whenever I want to like create an epic video, I use these as a light to point down and shoot and like light up a subject as like a spotlight. Yeah, but the biggest issue with these Boltzmann lights is quality control. So when I bought these from Cane TV, One of these lights wasn't wired properly, so I had to I had to solder one of the wires inside for it to work. So King TV, not the best quality control and not the best customer service. With Aperture, at the time when I bought these lights, I didn't know about Aperture. So these are just over a year old, by the way. I've had these for a while. Yeah, I didn't know about Aperture back then. But now that I know about Aperture, that's all that I will be buying. Hopefully Aperture will create their flexible LED panels. I would love to have a flexible LED panel from Aperture. That would be fantastic. But I have the 120D, which I use a lot. I have it actually in the other room. If you want me to go bring it, I can show you how that looks like with the mini light dome. I have a LED panel here from them, Lightstorm 1/2 W. And I have, let me bring out their mini 20D so I can compare it. I'll be right back, guys. Here it is. Here's the mini 20D. I did a review on it. Come around here. So here's a mini 20D. This is Aperture's Fresnel. All right, so it looks pretty similar, I'm not gonna lie. Here, they're side by side. The barn doors on this mini 20D are way better than the barn doors on the King TV Boltzmann. They're larger and they have this felt on them. And this felt helps absorb light so it doesn't reflect and cause any issues. Also, the barn doors shape light better on the mini 20D than they do on the King TV Boltzmann. These barn doors are better. This is a 30-watt light. Well, this is a 55-watt light. Currently, Aperture doesn't make a 55-watt Fresnel, unfortunately, but they are still a young company, so I'm sure they're going to release a ton of new lights in the near future. I would love to see more Fresnels coming from Aperture, that's for sure. But yeah, that's the mini 20D. Actually, let's take off the Boltzmann and do a little size comparison between the two. Okay, so here's the Boltzmann. Here's the Boltzmann. Here's the mini 20D. See that? They're pretty similar in size. The mini 20D is a little bit slimmer. This is more round. This is more rectangular. But yeah, they're both good-looking lights. Like they're both aesthetically nice. This one's a little bit lighter and will take up a little bit less room in your camera bag than this one. But yeah, 30-watt, 55-watt. We also have another LED light here, which I hope Aperture starts making soon. I'm going to show you that right now. Oh, voice crack. Here's a flexible LED light. This is made by a company called Falcon Eyes. This is a bicolor LED light. This has, I believe, 512 LEDs. They're bicolored, and this is a 100 light, a 100-watt LED light. Very powerful. And it has included diffusion. So there's already diffusion applied to these LED lights. So it produces beautiful soft light. And I use this a lot for interviews as a key light. When I need more power for a key light, I turn to my Aperture 120D because that has slightly more, it has more of a kick to it. But yeah. And then whenever I need a background light, I have the Lightstorm 1/2 W because it has a wide throw. It can easily light up this whole wall here, no problem. No other light I have can do that. So it's great that Aperture made a wide beam angle light. Okay. Good question. All right, next one. Okay. Which all-around zoom lens would you recommend for the A6500 and Crane 2? A6500, that's a crop sensor, so A6500, man, I don't even know. I'm only a full frame guy, to be honest. So for that camera, trying to do a little bit of math here with the zoom, the crop factor. I would say go with something like a Start off a zoom range from 8 mil going to I don't know if this lens even exists. I don't know. But something between like an 8 mil going up to a 50 mil, something like that. That zoom range. I don't know every single lens that's out there, guys. I don't. I only know what I currently have and what I currently want. And I use only full frame cameras. So yeah, so I'm only going to be talking about full frame lenses. So yeah, if you get something between that range, then you should be good. I don't know everything. I'm not Jason Vong. Okay. Okay. Oreo says, what I meant before was, can you use the motor to servo the zoom lens with the Sony cameras? Yes, you definitely can. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I'm going to make a tutorial on that. Hi, I'm looking for a gimbal, Crane 2 because of all the options, but the Moza Aircross is really smart and functional, very portable. Using the A7 III, what would you do? Cheers from Germany. Awesome. So Moza Air is a good gimbal, okay? But I mentioned before that it has a ton of firmware bugs within the gimbal. Like the way they program the gimbal's algorithm, it's bad. It's bad. I was able to break it. Juin's gimbals, I can't break. I've tried. I've really tried. I've tried upgrading the firmware wrong. I've tried playing around with the motor parameters. I couldn't break it. I was able to break the Moza Air within an hour after getting it. That's just how I review products. I try to break the firmware. So for that reason alone, I would definitely go with the Crane because it is foolproof. It's dummy proof. So for those of you who aren't the best with technology, boom, there you go. How is the Crane Plus? Crane Plus is good. I don't use it much because the Crane 2 is my baby. The Crane 2 is my gimbal of choice, hands down. My favorite gimbal, Crane 2. Yeah, I don't want to use any other gimbal, to be honest. But I have the Crane Plus laying around. So yeah. Any advice for getting an additional quick release plate for the Feiyutech A1000? I don't, because I don't have that gimbal. I don't have the A1000. Tilta G2X or iCan Pivot? Man, you guys are laying down some serious gimbals on me. I'm not an iCan fan simply because of their previous designs. But then again, I haven't touched the Tilta G2X or the iCan newest gimbals, so I don't know. I can't relate. But there is a reason why I went with this gimbal because it's modular. It's the most modular gimbal on the market. So that's why I went with the Crane 2. Yeah. What light stand do you use for the 120D? Yeah, let's see the 120D. Joe wants to see the 120D. Okay. First off, I use these little crappy light stands. These are like 10, 15 bucks each. It's sturdy enough to hold up the 120D. So you want me to go grab it? I'll go grab it. While I'm gone, guys, talk about something funny, tell some jokes. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. I hope you guys told some funny jokes while I was gone. Here is the 120D. This is my most favorite light. Here it is with the Light Dome Mini. You see, I'm just mounting it on this little cheap stand here, and it works just fine. See that? That's the 120D. I love the Light Dome series. I love the Mini and I love the larger Light Dome. I only have the Mini though, but I saw the larger Light Dome. It's pretty sick. But yeah, that's the 120D. Put the Crane right here. Yeah, that's it. And it has a fan. I did a review on this light, by the way, so if you're interested, check out the video on my YouTube channel. So this guy walks into a bar. Nice. I shoot food. What area you in, Teddy? Oh, you're asking something. Okay. I really would like you to do more jobs with the Moza Air because in Argentina there are no tutorials and I bought the Moza Air. Okay. All right. Hmm. Maybe. Maybe. I want to do tutorials on the gimbals that I use the most, and that's the Crane 2, just because it has the most functionality. But guess what? You can watch my Crane gimbal tutorials and apply it to the Moza Air if you have the Moza Air. So that's perfectly fine. But I want to stick to using the gimbals that I like using, and the Crane 2 is what I'm using. I enjoy it the most. Yeah. I love my Crane 2, guys. I love it. It's the BBC, Big Black Crane. All right. I love this thing. Yeah. It's my baby. I take it everywhere with me. Okay. Daniel Schiffer stat. Dude, Daniel Schiffer, I'm gonna meet this guy soon. I'm gonna meet this guy. We're talking, we're in the DMs together. Yeah, we're talking. I'm gonna get myself a plane ticket to Canada. I think Daniel's gonna be one hell of a cool guy to just kick it with. I think he's great. I was wondering a couple things, like should I be using autofocus with my Crane? It depends how good your autofocus is on your camera. That's where the fall focus system comes into play. If you do have the Crane 2 and your camera or lens is not that great with focusing, you definitely need to control focus manually, either by using a fall focus module like this one here or using it by hand. With my A9, I barely ever have to touch focus because it nails autofocus very well. Do you have the Crane extension? What do you mean the Crane extension? Sell me Moza Air. Yeah. No, I got to do more comparison videos of the Moza series with the Crane. So yeah, we're going to compare. Don't worry, I'm going to get a lot of comparison videos done for you guys. But yeah, here's, put the 120D back here. Let's set up a little mini studio. I want this live stream to look professional. So I have this one here. I have another Boltzmann. I have 3 Boltzmann lights. This is another one. Isn't it sad though, guys? I have more lights than I do light stands. Isn't that crazy? You can never get enough lights. Yeah, I have more lights than I do light stands. I have, how many light stands do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 light stands and 10 lights. So I need to buy myself a few more light stands. Yeah, okay. June Crane 2 inside a book bag, do that. I did a video on that. I did a review on a backpack where I attached my Crane 2 to it. And yeah, it's out there. You just got to do your research on my YouTube channel. Just type in bag for Crane on my videos and it will pop up. Eric is asking, hi, rather than using a DSLR and a mirrorless camera, do you use smartphones to take video for your jobs? Cheers from Hong Kong. No, never. I don't trust my phone. I don't trust my phone. One, because the battery life is always dodgy. I have an old iPhone 7 Plus, and I've had it. You know how long iPhones last, right? They last only a year, and then the battery just starts going to hell. The battery on it is not reliable. I always run out of storage, so I always have issues. Always have issues with my phone, so I never rely on it for professional gigs. If I'm traveling with like friends or family, yeah, I'll take some photos and videos with it, but I'm gonna try and take as much pro gear with me as I can everywhere I go because I want the best quality possible. And so far, smartphones don't give me that. But if you are a smartphone fanatic, I definitely know some people who do use it for professional gigs, believe it or not. What they do, they attach external lenses made by Moment, and they shoot with that. I don't do it. I don't trust it just because I don't trust my phone. I just use my phone for Facebook, Instagram, and emails. That's it. That's it. And taking calls and stuff like that. But yeah. Joe, thank you so much for your super chat, brother. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man. Great stuff. I know it's not necessary, but showing some love. Gotta go eat. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you. Good to see you, Josh. Remember that Jesus Christ loves you. Thank you very much. P.S. My Moza Air Cross works very well. Cool. Any Crane 2 setting tweaks to record a fast-paced scene? Yeah, so I did release a video covering some of the settings for the gimbal, for the Crane gimbal. What you're gonna do, you're gonna have to go back to that video as a reference, and you're going to have to play around with some of the parameters. Mainly what you're gonna have to be playing around with is, what is it called? I think it's called dampening or deadband. Is it deadband? I need to relook at it, but you're probably gonna have to increase the number or decrease the number of deadband. That way the gimbal will react sooner to your turn. So that way you don't have to turn the gimbal as much to make the motors react. So you want them to react very quickly to your movements. So you're gonna have to just play around with the parameters. Check out that video I made on those because that'll show you step by step of what each parameter does. So I hope that helps you out. My Crane 2 tends to be erratic when I do orbit shots. Can you show me a video? Can you send me a link to a video? That usually has to do with, I think it's the smoothness setting. I don't remember what they're called. Let me open up the ZY Play app and have a look, guys. I want to make sure I get you the most accurate. Let's see here. Let's open up the ZY Play app. Okay, connect your device. Here we go. Okay. All right, so while I connect that, does anyone else have any other questions? I'm not sure if you ever talked about this in a previous video before, but do you have any personal favorite movies? The Matrix, hands down, my favorite movie ever made. What audio setup do you use on your fitness videos? Good question, Gil. So I use, actually my kit is right here. So I use the Rode Lavalier Filmmaker kit. This is what I use for my fitness videos. It's right here. So this all depends on my clients. If they're walking around a lot, I just mount this directly on them. If they're static or just doing like a basic interview, I will set this up on them, hook it up to a Zoom H6 recorder, which is also right here. I'll do that. And then I'll hook up a secondary mic as a safety, a boom mic, which is actually right here as well. This is another Rode mic. So I have a boom mic here. This is the Rode NTG2. And what I do, I run all of my mics to a recorder like the Zoom H6 because the bit rate is increased and you get better audio quality with lesser noise. So that's why I use an audio recorder. Oh yeah, I was gonna answer a question about the app. Sorry about that, completely forgot. Okay, so we have the follow rate, control rate, smooth degree, and dead zone. Okay, so control rate, follow rate, and okay, so what you're gonna have to play around with is the follow rate. Follow rate is how quickly do you want the gimbal to follow your movement. So that is how you're gonna make your gimbal follow you quicker. Deadband is how much do you have to turn the gimbal or tilt the gimbal in order for the motors to react? How many degrees do you have to tilt down or pan left or pan right in order for that gimbal for the gimbal to follow you? So that's what a dead zone is. Smooth degrees is basically how dampening. It's basically dampening. So when it comes to a complete stop, how slowly do you want it to come to a complete stop? So that's smooth degrees. All right, and yeah, that's what it is. And so basically what you want to work with is follow rate and possibly dead zone as well. So those are the two settings that you should be focusing on at this time. Right, I'm gonna turn off my Crane 2 to save some battery here. Okay, Any more questions? This live stream is popping, yo. Yeah, this live stream is popping. Okay, battery life at 31%. We're good for a little bit. Okay. All right, so I covered audio. It seems like I might be spinning the handle too much. Okay. If you can choose only between the Moza Aircross and the Crane Plus, no Crane 2, I know it's your favorite. Which one would you choose to work with and why? So I don't have the Aircross, but I would choose the Crane Plus simply because of the higher payload. The Aircross only goes up to 3.9 pounds, which is, that was my biggest issue with the Crane version 2 and version 1, is that 3.9 pounds is the highest payload. And for a lot of my setups, it really didn't work too well, especially in windy conditions. So that's why I would go with the Crane Plus, because that 5.5 pounds does do a lot for you. It really, really does. It's enough to hold up a 5D Mark IV with the 24-70 L series lens. So that's a lot of weight. The Aircross won't be able to do that, unfortunately. Okay, which Sony camera is worth the upgrade? A7 Mark III, A7R Mark III, or A7S Mark III? Oh man, good question. So, are you a photographer? Are you a videographer? Are you a hybrid? So honestly, I'm kind of in a similar position as you are, my friend. I'm getting ready to sell my A7S Mark I, either for the A7 III or for the A7S III. What's holding me back is obviously the specs for the A7S III. If I don't get 4K 60, then if I don't get 10-bit recording, I know for sure I'm probably not going to get with the A7S Mark III. But if I don't get that 4K 60, I'm not going to get the A7S Mark III. I'm going to go right for the A7 III, because I already know for one that the A7 III has that low light performance. That's why I got the A7S Mark I, because I just wanted a camera that can do really well in low light. A7 III already does very well in low light. So I know for a fact also that the A7S Mark III will be expensive. It'll be roughly around $3,000, between $3,000 and $3,500. So I'd rather save that $1,500 probably for a lens or something else that I need, because 4K 60, I hope they put 4K 60, even though I don't think they will, but that is the deal breaker for me. So yeah, I'm in that similar position. Now I have the Sony A9. At the time I bought my Sony A9, the A7R Mark III was not released yet. So I probably would have bought the A7R III, to be honest, simply because of the high megapixel count. But honestly, after playing around with the A7R Mark III and having the A9, I don't think I would sell my A9 for the A7R Mark III. I love the 20 frames per second high-speed shooting. I don't use it too much, but I have that function there if I need it. It also has zero distortion in silent shutter mode. No other Sony camera has that. So that's a very big plus, especially if you're a wedding videographer or photographer. Zero shutter distortion in silent shutter mode. That is a big, big thing. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but whenever you go to a wedding, all you hear is camera shutters clicking, right? It gets annoying after a while. The A9 can do it silent, all right? Silent. So it's as if a photographer is not even there. So, I mean, that's a pretty big reason for me to stay with the A9 rather than going to the A7R Mark III. Okay, gotta go, 2 a.m. here, but love your videos. Thanks so much and keep going. Thank you, Gil. I really want to start a YouTube channel about my filmmaking process and tutorials and reviews. I feel like everything's been covered. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. There's always your own different perspective to things, and that's what's different. My perspective is completely different to, let's say, Philip Bloom. Okay, my perspective is completely different compared to Devin Graham. Like I bring a different perspective to the table. It might not be the most favorable perspective, but it's a perspective, and people subscribe to me for that. So as long as you bring your perspective to the table, you will have a YouTube channel with content. All right. Woo! I talked a lot today, yo. An hour and 9 minutes. Man, we killing it. We killing it. So to wrap up the live stream, crane 2 and aperture. Done. Done. Just remember, Juintech and aperture. You have those two names stuck in your head, you're set. You're set because they do. I mean, best gimbal right here in front of me. Best light right behind me. Like, come on, Neil. Come on. And they're affordable too. Very affordable. Any more questions? By the way, I have a slider right next to me as well. I don't know if you guys can really see it, but there's a little slider here. It's motorized. This is built and made, manufactured by a company in Texas. I did a review on them. This is called the Cinetics Lynx. I don't have the motors attached to it right now, but if you guys want to see it, let me know. But yeah, this is a motorized slider. And this is the Gimbal monitor here. Yeah. Teddy donated $2. Thank you so much, Teddy. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. By the way, guys, I want to ask you a question. How often do you want me to live stream? Because now that YouTube has fixed their awful live streaming, I can live stream a lot better now and people will be happier. So let me know how often you want me to live stream. This is like a free coaching call for all of you guys. So you can ask me questions right here through the chat and I'll answer it live. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, so let me know what you think about the live stream and how often you want to see it. And we'll just talk about gear. I mean, I own a lot of gear. I own all of my equipment. I don't rent in any of it. So I've had a lot of time with all of my gear, and I'd like to think that I have a vast amount of gear, like from many different companies, many different companies. So I kind of have an idea of the top companies that are in business right now and what's happening. And so yeah, that's what it is. My friend Kara is here. Ooh, she's a photographer. You guys want to talk to Kara? She's a photographer. Okay. I'm actually giving her a few lenses. But yeah. You guys want to meet Kara? Watch this. I'm going to go open the door. We're going to say hi to Kara. Hey, come in. I'm doing a live stream. Kara. All right, she's coming in. You guys want to ask a professional photographer some questions? You guys want to do that? All right, because I'm going to go get her lenses. She's going to come on in. And yeah. Kara, what's up?
Hi.
Come on in. I'm doing a live stream. They want to ask you some questions.
Oh,
I'm going
God.
to go grab your...
I have to make it home for dinner. How many questions do you want to ask?
No, just talk to them. I'm going to go grab your lenses really quick.
Oh, this is so weird. I don't know what to say to them. I'm going to wait.
Holy crap, I can't find the lens cap to it.
That's
And then
okay.
that's that.
This?
And that's this. Yeah.
This is really nice.
There's a filter on it. I don't know if you want it.
Probably not the filter, no.
No?
It's polarizer. It's just a filter.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell it is.
Probably might be polarizer, but I don't need one.
FLD filter.
Yeah. It's filtered, I guess, to balance something. I never use filters.
It's pink. Who needs a pink filter?
I don't know.
Do you want it anyway?
So
I don't know. Do you want it?
I mean, maybe Nick will maybe want it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Live streams.
Live streams. Kara's a little nervous. You're making Kara a little bit nervous. Everyone's saying hi. Everyone's saying hi, but you're hiding behind the camera.
To you.
Yeah. It's kind of a surprise. She's a little nervous now, but I'll get her comfortable in front of the camera. Don't worry. All right, guys. Peace out. I'll talk to you soon.
I'm not camera ready. Any makeup on.